Let me ask you a question.
That is not true. When you go to Cuba, when you go to Colombia, and when you go dancing there.
Yes, yes, and you're right, and that's what I want to ask you, um, because you're talking passionately about all the things that are missing from salsa when you left and today, and I understand what you're saying, but my my question is, and I have this discussion a lot, if you are not Latino, can you teach people to understand the the community, the culture of salsa? Because for me, I've been around Latinos since I started salsa. So for me, I say salsa is a way of life. If I go out, I don't have to dance. I can be standing there, sitting there, talking to my friends, enjoying the music. I don't have to be turned 100 times. I like to be turned 100 times, but I'm happy not. I like to be in the environment. Um, so my question is, obviously, you started teaching to Europeans. Is there a way to teach us and people from other countries out of Europe how to get into the culture of salsa? I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah. Mm. It's a little bit of a difficult question, isn't it? Because I mean, you cannot find the right direction on your question because it's very difficult to say. How can I teach you about a culture that I live since I was born until the age of 22? You know,
Mm,
how can you be in those parties than I was when I was a child? You know, how can you have been dancing with your grandmother, you know, the salsa steps, you know, seeing your
mm,
grandparents of have, you know, remember when the music come out, Fruco y sus Tesos, Joy Arroyo,
mm,
you know, all of those songs that were back in the 60s, you know, in 70s, that were part of my life. You know, that's impossible. What
mm,
I do think, you know, you don't have to learn that, you know, but I think, and a lot of teachers here have, don't get me wrong, you know, when
mm,
you have the passion for the music, and a lot of people,
mm.
probably yourself, have like that's a normal passion, you
Yeah,
know, to dance music, then you actually become connected to it, and
yeah.
you start to maybe investigate a little bit more, maybe start dancing a little bit more, maybe going to learn to other places. I just working at this moment with a young lady that was part of Yurupari and now is trying to
Mm,
do her own classes, not on salsa, but more on kind of, you know,
mm.
um, Latin music aerobics, and I'm
Yeah,
working
okay.
with her. She went to Colombia. She spent, you know, 6 months there. She taught. She's still taking virtual classes
Mm,
on videos because she loved the Colombian style and
yeah.
she wants to improve it. So yeah, you can do it. You can learn it. You can be part of that world. But I think you're gonna need to put yourself into that culture a bit more.
Do you think
You
it's the
know,
teacher's responsibility?
I do think it's a very important. Yeah, actually, you know, is the teacher see a man no dancing, no moving their feet while they're spinning a woman from side to side, just standing in their own feet and doing this, you know, said just even said, that's not done that way, my darling.
Mm,
You know, this is not the way. You move your leg back, you know, and you keep moving with her. So when she comes, you're in the right foot and you can dance with her
mm,
and you connect again. You know, who fault it is then this guy doesn't do it?
mm,
I think it's the responsibility of the teacher, and it's the responsibility of the person that want to teach as well. You know, to make sure that you know
yeah.
what are you talking about. Then is you can explain to people that there's part of the music where you don't spin really. That is not necessary. Then the music can be enjoyed by actually spinning fast together, just
Mm,
holding
yeah.
and spinning fast
Yeah.
together, by doing steps, by holding hands. You
Mm.
know, then you don't have to take the girl under your leg and then over your head to do it, to actually have some kind of no, you know. listen to the music. And yes, it's the teacher responsibility to say, how many, actually accompanied some of my friends a few years ago now, to a class where they teach without music.
Really? Okay. Wow.
It's all count, and 1, 2, 3, and 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So excuse me, how can you teach without a music? Or you teach also. I love to teach with slow music, to the beginners. If you can do it slow, and if you can enjoy the music slow, and you can ask a lot of my teachers, how fast was Xiomara's music? It was not fast at all. I moved, the sound a little bit. The intermediate class and the advanced class was with faster music. But for the beginners, I will always use slow, because that's, when you learn to feel that music and to actually ask more than your legs to move with that feeling and that rhythm, then you're dancing. It's not the speed. And a lot of people say, no, that's too slow. There's nothing more beautiful than dance. To some of the old funny, you put El Raton in the Colombian culture, and everybody will dance and will go, and you'll see the shoulders moving like crazy, and the hands, and everybody's singing, because you feel it inside, it's more than just getting together and dance. It's everything that gets with it.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay. And I want to talk, you have mentioned it a few times about your dance company, Paris. And I just want to say, I was living in Birmingham. I'm from Birmingham. And Annie Bazan de Fischer had the Birmingham Latin Festival. I can't remember if it was in Broad Street or in our kind of Soho of Birmingham. But I remember seeing your group, and it floored me. I was on the floor because I think you did Pachanga or Boogaloo. You did, at the time I didn't know, but you did Cumbia, you did Mapele. I'd never seen a group, and it was a big group. I remember there was a lot of you, but not only did you dance salsa, but you danced Afro-Colombian dances, and that was when I actually met Anwar and Larissa, and I believe Edison and Stella. So when I came to London, I always remembered them, and I was absolutely amazed. And I'd love to know the story. I've got many questions to ask you about Paris, but I'd love to know the story of how Paris came about, and if it's still going.
Yeah, okay. Gosh, as I mentioned before, I've been a folkloric dance from young age. I was born into that culture, that concept. And when I came to Europe and when I lived in France, I actually danced and learned Latin American dances with two groups, one called Carumanta. And we did a lot of other Latin American folkloric rhythms, from Peru, from Ecuador, from Mexico. We did things from Brazil. It was really, then I brought, my knowledge of some of the Latin American folkloric dances. When I came to England, and when I actually established myself in London, because I lived in the north at the beginning, when I arrived to England to learn English, I actually moved I was near Newcastle, so I was there for a while. Then I came back down to London, and that's where I met Jorge. And I was missing dancing. I was really missing my folkloric music and my dance. And when I met Jorge, at first I was dancing with this Mexican group, and that's where I met him. And we just decided to dance together. We said, let's put, let's do a couple of dances together. We did a couple of performances, and every time he's a great dancer, it's a fantastic dance, and you have two very energetic dances put together. And I can tell you, we have people standing up. Cumbias are one couple. You don't see that as much, but that was amazing, because we were turn it. And we have so many people asking. That's when I start my classes. And that's how Yurupari started.
Okay.
And how did we came with the name, for example? We were thinking about how to call it. Grupo Folclórico de Colombia, Folkloric Group of Colombia, no, not really. And then we thought about something that had some kind of meaning. And at the time I was reading a book called The Sons and Daughters of the Jaguar of the Anaconda, Hijos del Jaguar y la Anaconda, about the people in the Amazonian, the indigenous people. And they have there a ritual and a festivity and a gathering that is called El Yurupari. So when you get invited to a Yurupari, you get invited to a special celebration. Yeah, a celebration where you share, usually have something to do with the harvest, or if you had a raid, went out and have a huge crocodile, or and then you got too much meat and you want to share it, or you throw, you got a lot of fish and you want to share it. You call all the tribes that are close by, you keep the links with those people, and then you dance and you party together. And I thought, what a beautiful name. What a really nice name for what I want to do. Let's invite everybody, to share with us our culture.
Wow.
To be part of this. And that's where the name comes from.
Wow.
And a lot of people, is sometimes for the British and even for some of the Latin American, it's not easy to be pronounced.
It's not.
And some people, including some people that you have mentioned, actually, he has said, don't call it like that. It's too difficult. Change the name. And I refused. And I said, no. So 30 years later, we still go on. We're still dancing. It have changed, obviously. We have gone up and down. We have over 23 choreographies from Colombia, because not only we do Afro-Colombian dancing, we actually do dances from the whole regions of Colombia. So you have the two coasts, the Pacific coast and the Atlantic coast, very much about, the kind of Afro, Latino, more influences, African. And then you go part and it's got more indigenous. They all are mixed with the indigenous culture. But some are more Spanish, so the center part, the mountains part, the Bogota, the Medellin, the coffee region are a bit more Spanish on influence, more European, as you like. Those are, and we do 23 choreographies. Actually, it's more, because I'm thinking about 23 dances, and some dances have 3 rhythms, so
could you
from
there,
the dances,
Xiomara?
Dime.
So I'm not sure if you heard me there. Could you name some of the dances that you do? What are they called?
Yeah, okay. For example, from the center we go Bambuco, the kind of more European. Bambuco is a rhythm that is created in Colombia. And from that rhythm, that is, it's more like it's a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so it's more like a valse, but you can move it around, and when you do that, you can do from that music only, you can do San Juanero, Redoba, Torbellino, Las Vueltas, a lot of different sounds that are from the same region. The same that I said, you got then Joropo. Joropo is got another thing, but it's again, and in a similar rhythm than is half the similar count. Yeah, and as you go to the coast, so you go to Cumbia, Mapale, you go to the Pacific coast, you go to Jotas, Abusaos, Currulaos. Yeah, so you have all of those different parts of Colombia, and then have lots. I'm telling you the ones that are more known, but they have lots and lots and lots of these folkloric dances that you can do, or rhythms that you can do, choreographies.
But how on earth, 2 questions actually. How did you remember all these to bring them to the UK, all these choreos? And secondly, where were the costumes made? Because I do remember your costumes were amazing. So I'm intrigued about that as well.
Right. But like everything, you start with one thing and then you continue to develop. The first cumbia costumes, I made it myself. They were rubbish. I made it myself. I got the pictures to prove it. One's got a bigger breast than the other, very basic. And then, I went to Colombia, or my mom came and she bought me costumes. I got quite a lot of my mom's old costumes, actually.
Wow.
So I bought it for her. I got some new ones that was been made for us, especially. So that's how we get hold of the costumes, and in a way of the choreographies as well. So every time I go to Colombia, when I created, for example, all the music from La Región del Café, from the coffee region, I went to Colombia for 3 or 4 weeks, and I went to classes 4 days a week.
Wow.
4 lessons just to learn the different rhythms, the different movements, the different choreographies, the things that you can use for one dance and not for the other, even that they're from the same region. And that's how I did it, So there are things that I learned in my youth, but there are a lot of things that I have learned over the time.
Time. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I came, to make that big choreography. Yeah.
Wow, I see. And I want to ask you, first of all, in the UK with Yudapadi, how many times a week were you rehearsing at your peak?
But when we have, it depends. Believe it or not, Yudapadi have survived most of his life with 1 rehearsal a week.
Wow. Very professional. I remember
sometimes, we used to do 5 or 6 hours of rehearsal, killing Saturdays or Sundays, in the morning, all in the morning, 9 or 10 o'clock, 4, 5, 6 hours of rehearsals. But then we became older, so the rehearsals become shorter.
Yeah.
And but when we have performances, we rehearse Saturday and Sundays, and sometimes other times during the week. So when we did one of our biggest performance, we took a theater and we did a 2.5 hours performance at the Toynbee Studios in London.
Okay, that's in East London.
Yeah, that's East London. Yeah, so it was Saturday. We did Friday night, Saturday matinee and evening, and then a Sunday matinee.
Wow,
that was killing. Really, truly killing for the knees and that.
Wow.
But it was
and that was all choreographed by you, was it?
All choreographed, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty music. Amazing.
It was an amazing performance. It was a spectacle, of Colombia. And I don't think nothing like that was ever made. Unfortunately, it cost a lot of money to do that. And we haven't been able to repeat it.
Okay.
Because of the cost of the theater, because of the cost of the sound, because of the lights, is so much cost. The rehearsal space are becoming impossible.
Really, definitely.
Yeah, and then obviously this year, on top of that, we got COVID.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I believe that you have performed for some very famous people. Who are they?
But we have quite a few, not as very many, but but I think they're strong enough to say that they were. I danced with Jose Polanco and Jorge and Estela for the Oscar de Leon concert. One of the, that was, I think it must have been 1993 or something like that. Before I got pregnant, in 1994, and I did a performance where Iris de Brito was part of, part of the group.
Wow!
We did a performance for the opening of the Anglican Church at the Canterbury Cathedral.
Wow!
And that was an amazing performance. I think Prince Charles was there.
Prince Charles.
Yes. So yes, we were very, royal there, white curtain dresses, and it was a lovely time. It was directed. It was actually presented direction on the BBC, and was live. It's what you call live on the BBC. For the opening, and that was 1998. Yeah, summer of 1998.
Wow,
that was an amazing day as well. Who else we have, no, as I said, there are not as many, but I think they're strong enough, to say
Yeah,
that.
definitely
Yes.
strong enough.
Yeah.
Xiomara, I gotta say, I've known from since I saw you in Birmingham who you are. I've got to confess, I didn't know how much you have contributed. I knew that you were, doing all of these folkloric dances, but you truly are a cultural ambassador of Colombian and folkloric dance. What I don't understand is how come you don't have a cultural art school? Isn't this something for me because I believe in the UK there's over 90,000 Colombia, I think in London alone, I'm not sure, but isn't there some kind of interest where who is going to keep the Colombians, the youngsters learning all of these dances? What's happening?
Right. I don't know. I think I had a dream. I mean, to be honest, it's not that my dream have been short of that kind of idea. The dream has always been there to create something bigger, a bigger school. But as we have discussed over the time here, my life have changed. When I left salsa, I moved into law. I went back to university and I studied the law. Okay. I did a 3 years course for YESCAS and then, 1 year of exams, and then I did, 2 years practicing. And then I got bored, I got bored. It's just not me, I just couldn't take it. So basically I left as soon as I could. And I dedicated myself to the family for a while, very little. So my life have moved in so many different directions. But I think with everything, I have learned so much. I have become more confident of myself. I have improved my language. Many people, some of us can speak really well, but don't speak really, don't write really well English. I can't write in English. I was like perfect, but I there's a lot of things that had improved with my life, but it's as life haven't taken me into that direction. It have taken me from it, or I have moved away from it. Then it comes back and it brings me back, and I move away and then it comes back and it brings me back. And this is another time where that has happened. The dream is there, it's expensive, it's something that for what I have in my mind, with dance studios, with sound studios, with everything that is here, I can't do it. I don't have the money to do it, and then it's a question of applying to grants or creating, an organization. That is still on the cards, definitely, a way to do it. But it's just at the moment, for example, you haven't asked me, what I do now, but I run quite a lot of different things. I got an unbelievable.
That was going to be my next question. So yes, so please tell us what you do now.
I am the cultural coordinator for the Latin American House. So I run everything. You can find it. Go visit www.casalatina.org.uk or .org.uk. Casa Latina, Casa Latinoamericana, Latin American House is an organization that also has been supporting the Latin American community for over 40 years. And now I'm with them, and I've been doing all the cultural agenda, anything from exercise classes, cooking lessons, stories for children, stories about music, stories about, explanations about our heritage, to do with fiestas nacionales, for Independence Days, all of those things we're trying to put together.
And this is for Latin America, not for Colombia?
No, it's for all Latin America, not for Colombia. Yeah. Yeah. So that is one of the jobs. I'm also now recently, but I'm always been a volunteer. But now I'm the president for Friends of Colombia for Social Aid, which is a charity that again is got, nearly 50 years helping, supporting and organizations in Colombia with money, especially for education and health. And I've been now running, I have been the kind of event organizer, the head of events for quite a few years, about 8 years. And now I am the president of the
Wow.
charity.
Congratulations.
Like a huge amount of time, just kind of, oh my God, I have to create anything from newsletters to events to make sure, that we have it, especially in these times where we don't have live events.
Yeah, that's true. So what are you doing then? What is it that you're creating during COVID?
For the charity, we have quite very good ideas. I mean, we got just appeals, which are something that you put in the by just giving, and we are appealing to people to give us money for. Said, we got one person that is appealing to give children. We got 350 children from 3 different organizations that actually have nothing for this Christmas, especially to do with clothes. We don't even, they're not asking for toys because they can't afford that. These children have no the basis, they have no socks, no underwear, no tops, no pajamas, nothing, on the beds or bedding. And that's what we're hoping to give them for Christmas, something to wear, something to do it, to put on their bodies. That is crazy. So you can help by going into Just Giving Friends of Colombia for Social Aid.
I was just about to ask you.
Yeah,
okay, thank you very much.
you can go to Just Giving. We have another one of the volunteers that is actually working. She's not a young person, and she's working 100,000 steps for Colombia. And I'm hoping that she made at least, 1 pound a step or something like that. I don't think, we'll get that far, but even if she made 10 pence per step, it'll be great. And that is to help the native communities in Colombia who's, again, with the COVID and everything, they are devastated because these communities depend a lot from other charities. And charities haven't been able to collect the money to help them. And there is another problem as well with these communities, is that there is a lot of illegal mining, and they just blowing away parts of the land, and then that have created huge, the river to come out, and the river came into the land and took away all of the kind of garden that they have, for the food, including all the herramientas. I can't think of the word exactly, to do that, but everything that they work with the earth. So, and this is the kind of things we're doing. Kind of we call something called Hearts for FOXA. FOXA is Friends of Colombia for Social Aid in short. And Heart for FOXA is something when we're asking people, say, don't ask for a card or don't ask for flowers, because they're not going to ask for a child to have a smile. Donate the money for that card to FOXA. Again, you can find those kind of things in the Friends of Colombia for Social Aid or FOXA, as you put it on Google. It takes you immediately, to our website. So plenty of way to help. So this is me again, keeping busy, having, 20 volunteers moving around, making all the things, trying to get some help for Colombia. I'm a coordinator for Fusión de los Pueblos. Fusión de los Pueblos is a small organization that trying to put together all the folkloric music and dance groups that are in the UK.
Wow.
At our best, we have 18 members. At our worst, we have 12 members, So, but we are moving on. We are getting bigger. We're getting stronger. We're getting to, people to get to know a little bit more. We're getting registered as well, trying to get, some more help and everything. And one of the people that helped running it together with Marita Minchola from Expresión Inca, and with Joms Jaramillo from Ecuadorian group. He's gonna kill me when he attends because I can't remember the name. I'm terrible with names. John, remember that, Yeah. So but it's an Ecuadorian group, and yeah, that is basically the my jobs plus Jurupari Grupo Folklorico plus my house plus my daughters, plus that.
Wow.
Believe me, my week goes
like that. I can believe you. So what's an interesting year? COVID. And I wanted to ask you about COVID, obviously, because you mentioned that's made a difference, to your Just Giving organizations. I have checked, but it has been a couple of months ago. So how is COVID in Colombia? Is the death rate very high?
But it's less than in England for certain. But the problem there is you have a poorer country, therefore, people have less possibilities, to get the medicines to start with. Second, it is harder to get people in lockdown, because how do you ask a mother of 5 kids that live out of selling empanadas on the street or chewing gum or something to stay indoors? If she doesn't sell that, she cannot feed the children. So that's been a huge problem in Colombia, because yes, at the beginning everybody did it, but there is it's not going away. It's not going away. Like in here, it hasn't really gone away. Numbers went down in the summer, but not completely down, and then it just climbing up. It's the same in Colombia. We are just a few weeks behind in a similar pattern, maybe not as bigger numbers, but it continued to be a threat for the Colombian people. And there are zones where they are, and usually where are the zones that are more, than start to get more dead people? The zones where people going for holidays. So if people leave Bogota and they want to go to Bogota, is a bit cooler at town because it's high in the mountain. But if you go 2 hours down, you actually are in the tropics, truly in the tropics. As you go down, then the weather gets hotter. So you get a lot of people coming from Bogota. They get to these small towns, such as Melgar, such as Chinauta, Fusa. And what happened is those regions get all infested. And it's difficult because then, again, those are more parts of Colombia that are more rural. People live of going out, selling their potatoes, taking it to the market. In England, it's easy for the British government, to say we're going to put people in furlough, or we're going to put £10 as you go to restaurants. The Colombian government cannot do that. Or even if they have the money, would they do it? I don't know, but it doesn't seem to happen. They did help a little, for the first lockdown in Bogota, especially when other towns. But the small towns and all the community, the indigenous communities in La Guajira, right in the north, suffering horrendously there. Yeah. So it's been hard. It's been hard for the whole world. It hasn't been easy for anyone.
Of course not.
International, this is huge. This is a pandemic. Yeah. But there are countries that certainly, even if the numbers are not as big, are suffering huge amount.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. So I want to, this is the point where I say, let's get into this, which is around talking about coronavirus and racism and sexism. So you're Colombian and female. And I'm curious to know, because I remember when I was younger, in my 20s, when I say younger, of, people making jokes about Colombians being in the mafia. And it was it's supposed to be funny, but I actually want to ask the question, was it ever funny to you?
Never, no. It's never been funny to me. And I'm always got completely against that. Even when it's been, my husband was, I often said, I think you know very little about Colombia. Anybody that think that, Colombia is just drugs. It's very poorly educated. And I recommend that you go and find out. Usually that's what I said to people. A bit more. I never liked it. Never, ever. And I'm always will talk to people in front and said, no, we're not. We are more than that, because you probably, drink coffee in the morning that is Colombian, but you don't remember that. And I said, and if you know that is drug, maybe it's because you use it, because you don't remember the coffee. So I am quite strong when that's coming, because I find it offensive, not just to me, to a whole country.
Yeah.
To hold for the cause of one person or a few people. And if you think about these people that were in drugs, were doing it to actually, feed Europeans and Americans, men.
Yeah.
Who's the bad guy here as well? So that's what people forget. It's very easy to give it to the Colombians, but they forget the consumers are here. They're the people giving the money to those bad people, paying for them to be who they are, criminals.
Yeah.
I'm not defending them by any way.
Yeah,
I just say everybody should take the responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I just always remember people always making jokes about Colombians, but for me it wasn't funny. But I just wanted to ask the question. And next onto that, when you came to the UK, being female and Colombian, what kind of treatment did you receive?
Goodness me, I mean, it's part of who we are, as you like. It's like asking you, have anybody been racist towards you? I am Colombian, I am female, I have an accent when I speak. I'm from another country, I wasn't born here, and that's it. People are going to take anything. I have a British passport, for example, but my passport said born in Aguachica, Cesar. It doesn't say born in Colombia. So when I pass often my passport in the airports, what the guy said, oh, which part of England Aguachica is? They think it's funny. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I don't think it's funny. They know what it is. It's not funny. I have sat down next to people and said, oh, you've been here for 30 years, but your English is not as good. I said, well, what about your French and your Spanish? Can you speak those? Would you speak to me in Spanish?
And what's the response?
None. I said, yeah, but I don't live in Spain. You live here. I said, yeah, but I am communicating with you without a problem. You want to tell me that I got an accent? Yes, I have an accent, and I always have it. So, those things are part of it. But you know what? I am one of those people that kind of, move to this size. I tend not to give too much attention. I'm not going to give them the, the possibility of them having, taking for me. You can say that I move this way, I move the other. Same, as being when I was doing salsa, it's exactly the same that I did. Is I lose the guys because they wanted to go to other classes. Let's be it. That's not a problem. It's not. I've never been that kind of person. I'm never jealous. I never thought, oh, this person shouldn't be teaching or not teaching. Great. Are you doing better than me? Even better. That's great. Go for your dream. I go for mine. My dream, I know that's bigger as yours, but that's are my dreams, and I go in for them. So it's always been like that. And so, Fred, yes, I there are many times when, I've been put down for one reason or the other, but
do you think it's got better with time? Do you think now in 2020? No?
No, I don't think so. I tell you one thing, I was never scared of speaking Spanish outside.
Mm.
You know what? Now I feel scared to speak with someone Spanish in the train.
Oh, wow.
I think there's a big um, move towards people kind of showing the racism when before they might have said, "Oh, I really like the way you speak." Maybe no meaning it,
Mm.
but it's still smiling. When now they just look badly at you.
Wow.
The gate was open, and all of these things that have been inside for years are coming out, and I can feel it. I can see it on people's faces.
Mm.
I haven't yet been told, don't speak that language here, like I know it happened in America or something like that.
Yes.
But I heard that it happened to some Latinos already here.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that it's getting better. England has always been such a friendly country to a lot of people, not only Latin Americans, from everywhere in the world. I think that's why so many people want to live here, because some way, somehow, they had always support us, help us, let us be, you couldn't do that in America sometimes. So I'm very grateful with this country, very, very grateful. And I really sincerely hope that we're never that this is just a small spell and we'll go back to live, together, friendly and loving with each other and respecting each other, which is the most important part.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask you about, obviously, we're all aware of the murder of George Floyd. And this has created, I think, a lot more Black people to speak up about their experiences. And not only to speak up about their experiences, but to say that they're not accepting, for example, the athlete that was pulled over by the police, driving their car. I'm curious about in Colombia. Obviously, as you said, it's, there's, the history of Blacks in Colombia. And I want to, obviously you're not living in Colombia, but I was wondering if you've heard or read anything about of anything like that in Colombia, whether Black people are, I'm going to use the word uprising as well.
Yeah, I think they're doing it everywhere, quite rightly. I think quite rightly. To be honest, completely. I don't know about Colombia, and they should, because I don't think they're treated fairly either. In Colombia, Colombia is a racist country for sure. That for us, I'm sure. Obviously, like every racist country, not everywhere, not generalized, and every Colombia is every Colombian, but you can see, and even within my own family, things, ways that they talk or say things that it made me feel very uncomfortable, and I don't know whether it is just part of the way they are, but I don't think it is. I think, you always, as a more indigenous people, you kind of find another one to pick up into. I'm not sure what is happening, but I certainly hope that it's happening. Colombia is going to a difficult situation all the time. It seems like we never there's no end to that. I mean, for example, now there are quite a lot of syndicalists and people that work for the communities that have been killed. It's like a genocide of all the syndicalists. A lot of people that have to do, they're killing by every day, and that nobody knows. The government is not taking responsibility, although there are quite a lot of organizations that are saying, is the government is not doing anything, is because they're involved. Some people say it's the right, some people say it's the left. It's a difficult situation, and unfortunately, in Colombia, is often the way is to say something that upsets somebody, you know, then you're going to have a possibility of, you know, losing your life. And I don't know whether in Colombia, you know, the Black community will come out and will be shouting, you know, Black Lives Matters in the same way, and what reaction it will have. I haven't heard it.
Rico. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The indigenous communities are fighting, and they're doing quite a lot. And I think, you know, they really are letting the voices come out, probably more than the kind of Afro-American communities, yes, Afro-Latinas, you know, communities. So maybe within that's bold, within that circle, you know, the Latino communities will start speaking up as well. I hope so.
My question, and I have asked this before, my Spanish is not perfect by any means, but I've spent enough time learning Spanish or being around Latino so that I understand quite a bit. So I always try and understand the lyrics, or at least get an idea what they're about. And over time, there's certain songs, a lot of songs, whether it's Puerto Rican, Colombian, Cuban, from wherever, a lot of songs sing about negra this, mulatto, mulatto this. It fascinates me, but yet it seems to be Black is the last thing you want to be. And I'm being direct about this. And this fascinates me because when I see singers singing this, it's with such pride. But yet this thing of to be Black is the thing you don't want to be. It's better to be mulatto. If not, it's better to be indigenous, or if not indigenous, it's better to be Spanish, of Spanish family heritage, living in Colombia or Puerto Rico. What is this about?
Oh, there's a lot of things in one question there, you know. Because I mean, yes, you're right at the end to say it. Obviously, you know, is most of Latin Americans will say, you said, oh, you are from indigenous background. Me? No, is you happen to have your eyes slightly Chinese, you say you're Japanese, even then you actually look quite a lot indigenous to me. Or, you know, said, no, my mother is Italian, or, you know, my grandfather had blue eyes. What does it have to do with it, you know? But there is a pride. Unfortunately, it does come with colonization, does come with the idea that you have a power that came into a country and taught us to hate it, you know, what we have. That was the way of colonizing us, of getting over us. Your culture is awful. Indios is a bad word, you know, that's something that you use to someone, indigenous. Ugh. You know, it's the Indio. You insult someone, as you call it that.
Okay.
You know, it depends how you say it as well, but I'm sure, you know, you can use it. On contrary, you know, negrita, negrito, you know, not usually negra or negro. I mean, for example, no le pegue a la negra, like, you know, it's about love, it's about slave, it's about saying, don't you hit my woman and hit her negra, no le pegue a mi negra. You know, it's mine, you know, so, you know, it becomes a tender word. See, it becomes a tender word, you know. So it does depend. We often, you know, call people of color by that. But, you know, it's something that, again, it is more like it's adhered. I'm sure not everybody will say it in a despective way. I mean, sometimes friends of mine, whether they used to, I got a really good friend of mine that lived in the States, and she always said, Nancy la Negra. So, you know, in case that people don't know who Nancy it is, she always Nancy la Negra. And she kept saying, no, it's la Negra Nancy, it's la Negra Nancy. You know, it's a part of her name. She's proud of it, and she doesn't put it down. And we all that, I must say, hola, mi negrita, ¿cómo estás? You know, often
Yeah.
we use it in the diminutive form. Oh no, ¿cómo estás, mi
Yeah.
negrita? Are you okay? You know, is that my father? I used to be darker than when I live in Colombia than I am now,
Yeah.
and I don't see the sun. But my father called me negrita.
Yeah.
Some of my aunts, my aunt Marta called me, hola mi negrita, ¿cómo estás? You
Yeah.
know, in some ways it becomes a tender
Yeah,
word, you
it
know,
is, and I
word.
totally agree with you with that.
Yeah.
I did mean that. I definitely know it's a word of it's words of endearment. It's just, and in songs it's endearment, but I just find,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you know, I've got Colombian friends. I've got Colombian friends, and in the conversations, they wouldn't want to admit if they have black blood in their family. So this is what I'm getting to is I know in that way it's used positively, but ultimately when it comes down to it, of course there's many mixed people in Colombia, but it's more about that.
Vacila los rumberos.